The interest wasn't oversight. The interest was a political hit job on the FBI in the service of the president. The goal here is to undermine the FBI, discredit the Mueller investigation, do the president's bidding.
Adam Schiff, the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, still on a tear about the GOP memo that alleges the FBI and DOJ abused the FISA process to surveil former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. Democrats want their own version out to the public, and there could be a vote on that soon. Meanwhile, the president called Schiff one of the biggest liars and leakers in Washington, who must be stopped today. The congressman is firing back. Mr. President, I see you've had a busy morning of executive time. The primary author of the memo, Nunes, piling on his Democratic colleague.
If you look what they've done over the course of the last couple of weeks since we put together our memo so that we could make sure the American public discovered the FISA abuses that occurred, they've continued to leak out bits and pieces of information to create narratives that, quite frankly, have one thing in common: they're always false. Mr. Schiff knows that he's spreading a false narrative there, but that's not new for him. He spread false narrative the entire time.
Okay, so the president, Dana, calling him a liar and a leaker who must be stopped today. Ahora.
I know. So over the weekend, I tried to take a step back, and I figured I'm going to let all of this settle and then read a couple more things when I start on Monday, just to see where people are. And I feel like it's we're at the same place that we were on Friday, except for that the Democrats have sort of advanced their agenda by, one, responding to the president the way that they had after he, whether it's punching or counterpunching, I have lost count. I do think that this question of whether the underlying documents are going to be revealed is still an open question. On Friday night, Nunes was on Bret Baier's show for an exclusive interview, and Bret asked him if he had read the underlying documents, and he said no, but that Trey Gowdy had, the congressman from South Carolina, overseeing the Oversight Committee. And I'm wondering about if the Intelligence Committee folks are not all read in on exactly what's happening underneath. Should these documents actually be released to all of us? Because I don't know what the context is, and I don't know if it's a really good idea to start disseminating to the public information that is supposed to be for investigations. I think it's kind of dangerous. The other thing is, I just feel like a lot of the timeline doesn't make sense to me, especially that the memo talks about Carter Page and this FISA warrant in October of 2016, when he'd left the campaign a month before in September. And then, according to the timeline, the counterintelligence investigation started 3 months before that. So I'm not even sure what Carter Page could have even told anybody on any sort of wiretap that would have been relevant to the Trump campaign if he'd left. So I think there's a lot of open questions.
Okay, so Greg, Dana thinks perhaps it might be, an imprudent escalation to then try to now release the Democratic side and go back and forth.
Well, I'm okay with releasing I think the Democrats should be allowed. I just wonder about these underlying documents. Kind of the
underlying documents that perhaps obviously could have some national security implications.
I'm always, first, to state the obvious, we're seeing, this is another example of team sport politics. Reminds me of that. I think we did this segment on the 5. What was the color of the dress? And some people saw the color of the dress as gold.
One was gold, and I think blue.
And the other was blue. So one side will always see this one way, one side will see the other. Having said that, Andrew McCarthy, I think, really nailed it down in National Review. He responded to Gerald Nadler's letter, and he says it's not about Steele being reputable in his dossier. It's not about him being, he's an upstanding guy. It's not about that. It's about his sources. Remember, he didn't write the dossier. He simply delivered it. So the FBI and the DOJ should have been put more emphasis on that, because anybody, a capable person could put together a report on you with unvetted sources. Are you happy that the government used a capable person? Then that's okay with you, that they use anonymous sources saying crappy stuff about you? So that's important. But the thing that kind of gets me is the Dems, you keep hearing this releasing this memo is a constitutional crisis. Well, how can that be a constitutional crisis and trying to unseat a president as a general election not be a constitutional crisis? I think trying to steal an election from the American public is a constitutional crisis. Releasing, and obviously, a memo that has some kind of political opinion in it. Let's be honest. It's done by a Republican. There's going to be, again, there's two sides. So that is far from a crisis. But somehow generating and ginning up this scandal to steal an election, that's a crisis.
I agree.
Or it could be a crisis.
Wait a second. Who ginned up a scandal? The scandal was that the Russians interfered in our election.
There's no collusion.
Oh, I don't know, but I'm just telling you, that's the real scandal. You said the
original
Democrats
allegation was collusion.
dreamt this up. The Democrats didn't dream anything
The Russians
up.
interfere in everything.
I see.
And no, we know
so
that.
we should minimize it?
No, this is about collusion. I'm waiting for the collusion.
Okay, but I'm just saying there's a
let me
real
put it this way.
issue
If you don't have a
here.
clear-cut case on collusion and you try to, I don't know, impeach Trump and something happens, you got a big problem on your hands. It's 67 million people who are going to wage war.
Let me tell you, I mean, you can portray this as some kind of coup, but the coup would have been if, in fact, we have a candidate running as an agent of a foreign government and
I agree,
elected.
but you have nothing there.
There's no evidence to produce. No evidence has been produced to substantiate that claim.
What ifs are beautiful. They are.
What if? There's no what if about Russians interfering in this election.
They interfere in
and
everything.
there's no what if
They
about the
interfere in
Russians
everything.
favoring Donald Trump. And there's
And
no
also,
what if.
You can't blame the president for that. He didn't even call up and go, hey,
no.
Russians, interfere with the election, and
sure.
could you choose me over Hillary Clinton?
Kimberly, what about Donald Jr.
Did it have any
what about
impact on the
Donald Jr.
election?
going right to Trump Tower with a Russian
Where did the
and saying, I'm
information-
looking for dirt on Hillary Clinton?
Where did the dossier information come from? Russians.
Oh, please.
Case closed.
And let me just say, let's go back to Dana's
Like
point.
algebra. Then we gotta get Jesse in.
I
wanna make sure he's still alive.
Totally makes no sense, Devin Nunes' attempt to say that the timeline fits and this is the basis, because guess what? They already were looking at Carter Page from 2013.
And why were they looking at him? He was actually cooperating with the FBI.
No, because the Russians tried to recruit him, Greg.
Yes, and he cooperated.
Oh, my gosh.
He cooperated.
Let me just
He
say,
may not be the brightest
Greg,
guy
you are
in the...
looking under the table in order to avoid
How dare you?
the
Why would I
facts.
look under the table?
Because
I'm
you're
not some kind
afraid
of
of the
pervert.
facts. Yeah, but I'm just
Here's
here's the weird part.
Head out of the gutter.
Why not release the Democrats? You guys are always about transparency.
Yo, do it.
Oh,
my
wait.
But Donald Trump says he's vindicated.
Nice straw man, Juan. Nice straw man.
Donald Trump is a straw man?
No, you're the
I'm the straw man.
creating a straw man argument.
Yeah.
I'm for releasing the memo.
Well, you should be.
God's
My
sake.
goodness, this is getting crazy. So to make
Bring
it
Jesse
less,
into this.
make less sense, Jesse.
Listen, guys, here's the truth.
Truth.
The Obama officials used fake information and got the court to justify spying on the Trump campaign. They lied to the court, Juan.
You think
it was
so?
a lie of omission. They did
What
not
was
include
the
the
lie?
fact that
Tell the lie.
the dossier was the reason for the spying.
They did not.
The dossier was kept from the judge. They didn't say
Wait
that
a
it was
second.
paid for by Hillary.
Wait a second. I
And
thought
that's
the
how they
argument
got
was the
the
judge was
spying
given the
done.
dossier. Now you're saying the dossier
No,
was
they
kept
didn't
from
say
the
that the
judge.
dossier was paid for by Hillary and
Paid
was
for
written by
Hillary.
Steele.
The judge knew.
Why didn't they tell the judge that, Juan?
They did.
Because they knew they would never
In
have
fact-
gotten the spying done if
let me
it
just
wasn't
say-
for that.
You know how,
That's why.
You know how weak you are? Because guess
we
what?
just won the
You
Super Bowl.
had- I'm all for that. You're
Wait,
strong on that
again,
point.
we must separate the fans from the players.
I'll tell you
Okay?
how weak you are, Juan. If it's not a scandal on your side, why is everybody getting demoted? Why is everybody
Who's getting
retiring
demoted?
early?
Wait,
what do you mean,
are you talking
Strzok,
about Republicans?
Page, Strzok, Page,
Oh,
or
I see.
all these
Me,
people,
Lisa, not
McCain,
Carter.
all these people on that side
I see.
must be guilty of something because they're actually now getting in trouble. The other thing is you're spying on Carter Page for all these years. Where's
Why?
the collusion? He hasn't even been charged.
And he was cooperating.
He hasn't even been charged, Juan.
No, therefore he's-
Where's the dirt? There's no dirt. You have
Spotless,
nothing.
spotless.
Where's the
And
beef?
now there's more memos coming, so that's why you guys are getting
But
very
it is
nervous.
not remotely clear.
Oh.
Well, none of it is, but that anything that the government would have been listening to with Carter Page, when she's not even on the campaign anymore, would even relate back to the Trump campaign or the Trump family in any way because he wasn't involved. So maybe there was a problem in getting the warrant, and that needs to be looked into. But I also think that the Trump family at this point, I don't know why you would be concerned about Carter Page being listened in on.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't have known anything.
Oh, and speaking of,
assuming.
if you want to learn more about Carter Page, then you should watch the Ingram Angle tonight because he's going to be with Laura.